Hey, Pat, what's your favorite D&D class?
Definitely Rogue. And yours?
I mean, that's an interesting choice, but mine is Bard.
Stop it, you bloody Bard! Roll the intro!
Welcome to Passion of the Geeks, the show in which two friends and fellow geeks talk about geek and pop culture and everything else we enjoy. I'm Greg.
And I am Pat.
And let's get on with it. Hello, Pat. How are you doing?
Hello, Greg. I'm doing mighty fine. It's wonderful weather today, and we have a podcast recording session. So how could life be better?
I mean, yeah, for the first time in a few weeks, actually, it's warm.
Yeah.
And we're sitting inside recording a podcast. I mean, yeah, we're not the smartest people.
Definite geeks.
Definitely, yeah. But we have a fun-packed episode for you today. It's episode 37, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think so, yes.
And for our listeners who paid attention, today is another episode where we talk about D&D because last time the dice told us to. And yeah, don't mess with the die.
Yeah.
So, but before we talk D&D, something that's very close to our hearts, let's start with our new segment. Pat, did you find out anything interesting today?
Yeah, actually, there's something very, very interesting because now it's not today, but a couple of weeks ago, a new ScummVM version was released. And for those who don't know ScummVM and my enthusiasm about it, it's essentially an interpreter that is used to play old adventure games on modern systems, like the ones from LucasArts and Sierra and so on and so on. And they always add new engines. They always add new games they support, which is awesome because you can play it on any platform. It's multi-platform, whether you have Windows or Mac, or I think even on Switch, but I think it needs to be jailbroken then. But anyway, the new update of ScummVM now allows you to play AGS games, Adventure Game Studio games. And maybe a lot of people don't know what AGS is. It's basically a way to create traditional adventure games, and a lot of people are actually use that to create both freeware adventures and also really, really great commercial adventure games that you can buy on Steam and on GOG and wherever. And being able to play these through ScummVM allows you to adjust a couple of things that maybe the original AGS couldn't do, like having different shaders, how you want your game to look or sound, and a lot of additional things like autosaving and so on. And as I said, now you can play them on basically every other platform, not just on Windows, which is awesome. And it's new. It's not complete right now, but I've tested about 120 different adventures, and most of them work flawlessly. Now, very new adventures using kind of pseudo super VGA resolutions, they are a little slow at the moment. But yeah, I think this is great, especially for me as an adventure lover.
I have ScummVM installed on my Mac as well. Not the newest version, I have to admit, though, because from time to time I like to play some old games as well. I'm not as retro of a gamer as you, but from time to time you like to revisit a classic. And I think my main reason why I love ScummVM is because it allows these old games to stick around, because there's so many games that have been probably lost to time because there's no way to play them anymore. And there's something like ScummVM, these games probably are not gonna die. Let's just put it that way. And that's always a good thing, kind of keeping the history of video games alive. Even though I might prefer current AAA games, but I'm also a history buff. I think old games should be kept alive.
I agree wholeheartedly, Greg. Yeah, but what about you? What did you find out?
Well, speaking of new things, this week Apple had they called it Spring Loaded, I think. They had a keynote where they basically showed off some new products. Our listeners probably know I'm a huge Mac geek. All my devices have the Apple logo on them. I just love their products. And this week they introduced a couple of new products. I would like to mention two of them. They introduced a new iPad Pro with M1 chip. Yes, they're putting the same chip in an iPad that they're putting in their laptops and in their new iMacs as well. So a powerful new chip in probably the best iPad they ever built. It has a shiny new display. They call it Liquid Retina XDR, which apparently is supposed to be the best display ever in a tablet, kind of for pro consumers who need them to look at pictures and everything. But it's such a powerful device. I'm probably going to need to get one just for work. We have a Windows laptop for work, but I just don't like Windows. I can't help it. I just don't like it. I don't know why. I just don't like it. So, yeah, basically I take any excuse to buy a new iPad. So that's probably where I'm at here. So the new iPad Pro looks quite cool. The other big thing they introduced a new iMac with a new design. I think it's the first time in more than 10 years that they basically changed the design of the new iMac. They're bringing back colors, which I actually quite like. Sure, silver or space gray or whatever kind of looks cool. But I mean, if you want your computer to be more than just an office appliance, if you want your computer to be something that, lightens up the room a little bit, a colorful iMac, these are the small ones, the 24-inch iMacs. I mean, there are worse things to put in your flat to make them look nice. This new iMac, not the iMac I want. I'm a 27-inch iMac guy. I want a little bit more power under the hood, but I'm pretty sure maybe autumn, fall, or maybe early next year, they're going to release a new iMac, probably with a similar design, a 27-inch, and that's probably the one that I'm going to get into because, my iMac is about 6 or 7 years old now, so he's due for a refresh. So you've just looked at the pictures, probably. You haven't checked the specs, but
yeah, I mean, one of the things is I didn't have time to check the specs and everything, but it's always very difficult to compare it because I am a PC guy, and the truth is I'm a huge Microsoft fan, and maybe people heard that a couple of times by how I talk about that. And I like Windows, but probably if gaming in general would be more suitable on Linux, I would probably switch to Linux because I'm also a huge fan of that. So, and that would be closer to the Mac then because both are kind of Nix systems. And one thing I really think Apple does really great is making hardware that feels durable but still looks great. And I really have to confess that not a lot of other companies have it just the eye for this like Apple does. There are a couple of others that do a nice job, but Apple kind of always is a little bit ahead of them. And as you've said, the displays probably are something to be seen. So I think it will have their share of customers. I'm not a huge fan of colors. I like my IT black. So, that's just my standpoint.
At this point, I'm not sure what kind of color I would get because The way my computer's in my office, no one sees it anyway, but me. But kind of a bluish color, or maybe space gray or something like that. I mean, I might enjoy that. My current iPhone is blue, and I like that color. But on the other hand, I'm actually more excited about what's under the hood in these devices, because I really think these M1 chips, they're quite cool, and especially if you look at kind of some of the benchmarks they put out, or how some software like Adobe Photoshop or Premiere or whatever, how they're working on these devices. That's, I mean, just when you look at the power consumption and how fast the software runs, that's a pretty cool. That's pretty cool engineering. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, PC versus Mac. Maybe we have to do an episode about that at some point. Hello, I'm a Mac. Hello, I'm a PC.
I'm a PC. Yeah. No, probably we don't, because I think both have their points, their the ways how to use them. Both have great things, both have bad things, and I don't want to compete. I think both should learn from each other and try to improve on their own way. So I see it more in a cooperative way.
Let's agree to disagree here. Okay, moving on.
Yeah.
Pat, do you have anything interesting for us to check out this week?
Yes, and talking of cooperative, I want you to check out It Takes Two by Hazelight. It's a game that has been released a couple of weeks ago, I think. It's one of these cooperative games by Swedish game designer Joseph Fares. I think it's pronounced Fares. I don't think it's a Swedish name. Or is it Fares? I don't know. I apologize. Anyway, he had made another sort of a prison escape game that could only be played with two people playing cooperatively. And in 2008, I think it was. And now he kind of picks it up and uses the whole scenario with the cooperative gameplay and puts it into a more family-friendly environment. I currently play it with my son. It's a game where you play a father and a mother who are kind of close to a divorce, or actually they settled that they want a divorce, and their daughter, well, bear with me, their daughter kind of makes two dolls and transfers their souls into these two dolls. And from now on, these father and mother need to get through different challenges in their doll form. It's a little bit a magical game. It reminds me a bit of earlier Pixar movies. So it's really nice to watch. The story is perhaps a little bit much and a little bit heavy-handed. And I mean, the gameplay does nothing really original. It basically takes gameplay options from other games, most notably the Lego games, and just puts it together, but in a very original way, in a very nicely told way. It's just a lot of fun to really play together and tackle those challenges. The thing is, a lot of people think like, oh, this is the perfect game. Grab your wife who has never played a game and play it with her. I don't think so. It's a challenging game. It needs certain game pad skills because none of the characters is weaker than the other. They both share equal leading part. So it really needs someone who actually has a little knack for gaming. But other than that, it's a wonderful little game. I like it a lot, and my son does too.
So you play on the same device?
Yeah, we play on the same device, couch co-op, like it's called. But The thing is, you always get a friend code with the game. So you can just send that friend code to another person in the internet, and he is then able to actually install a portion of the game and play it with you. The problem is it's not cross-platform, and I've bought it on PC, or else I would have played it with you, Greg. Sorry.
We talked about it before. I mean, come on.
Yeah. But it's basically available on PS4 and Xbox. I could have bought it anywhere. So I'm sorry, it's my fault.
You bought it for PC, so you...
Yeah.
And then it's not compatible with...
No, it's not
Game Pass. Yeah, okay.
No.
Yeah. I've actually heard of it. I'm probably going to check out the trailer. It sounds interesting, but how should I put it? At the end of the day, it's if you have to schedule your game sessions, that seems like a lot of a hassle to me.
Yeah. So couch co-op definitely is the easier way to play it.
Yeah.
Maybe if we ever can meet again in real life, Greg, we could play together.
Yeah, we have to record another Snyder Cut video.
Yeah.
Okay, so that was It Takes Two by Hazelight.
Yeah.
I'm also sharing a video game with you today, and it's not a new one. It's actually 2 years old. I'm still playing around with Game Pass. I'm enjoying it quite a lot. I'm trying out a lot of games, and on a whim, I decided to download Doom Eternal. I played Doom 2 way back, and I actually enjoyed it because, yeah, it was Doom, but I mostly played it with the cheat codes because, let's be honest, the later levels were really, really difficult. And I never was good at shooting stuff. I'm not the biggest first-person shooter fan, but Doom Eternal won me over. I just finished the game, the campaign, and I have to admit, I'm not the best gamer. I play on easy, but the combat loop in Doom Eternal, and from what I hear, it's the same, or pretty much the same combat loop in Doom 2016. It's just amazing. The way the game makes you move, the way the game makes you attack, the way the game is designed so that you don't stop. You're constantly on the attack. You're constantly going at these monsters. Just to give you an example, I mean, usually in a game when you're hit and your health is down, you have to hide and wait, for example, in Halo, and have to wait until your shield comes back up. In Doom, there's no such thing. If your health is down, what you need to do is you need to attack and you need to perform a glory kill, which I think is the best invention in computer games ever. But yeah, you have to perform a glory kill, and that's how you get health back. I mean, that's just a great design decision. And how do you get ammo? You chop a monster apart with your chainsaw. I mean, genius. And the biggest surprise was actually that the game even has some sort of a story. Sure, the story is, go there and kill those people or those demons because of that. But that's all I want from a game like this. And the game is fun. The game is fast-paced. Yeah, I just really liked it. That was, Doom Eternal. Have you played Doom Eternal?
Actually, the last Doom I've played was the 2016 one. And then after that, there was a VR version of Doom. But it plays roughly the same as Doom Eternal.
Yeah.
I just had, I don't know, was it a demo version or something? I played very briefly. It has, you called it the combat loop. And I think this is something that Doom does excellently. As you explained with the glory kills and stuff, it's a lot of fun. And it's really well designed. I like how it is designed.
There is no cover. Nothing. You're constantly moving. You're constantly shooting stuff. And I mean, obviously it's Doom. There is gore, but it's fun gore. It's fun, scary. Yeah. So I really like it. And unfortunately, Doom 2016 is not on Game Pass because I think it's on PlayStation Plus.
Okay.
Oh no, on PlayStation Now. I think they should really put those two together because I think I have PlayStation Plus and not PlayStation Now. So yeah, I probably have to play Doom 2016 as well, because I just really like this one. And as I said before, I'm not the biggest first-person shooter. I actually, as I mentioned in our last episodes, I've been playing a little bit of Halo, but I think I've seen Halo because, I like to be able to choose between 9 different kinds of guns, and I honestly I prefer Doom Eternal to Halo. Yeah, that's just me.
Me too, by the way.
Probably have to check out the multiplayer at some point this weekend. Okay, so let's move on to our main topic.
I am Dungeon Master, your guide in the realm of Dungeons and Dragons.
As we said earlier, we're gonna talk a little bit about D&D today again. Today we want to talk or deep dive a little bit into the different classes that D&D has to offer. Mm-hmm. But before we do that, we wanted to give you a quick update on how Tyranny of Dragons is going. So we've had a few sessions since our last D&D episode. And what's Faye been up to in the Tyranny of Dragons campaign?
Faye, I don't know if we ever mentioned it, but the original hook that Faye had was finding her mother. And she actually did that, except she lost her again. She couldn't go home together or something. So the happy ending is still a bit off. But other than that, Faye became, I would say, pretty powerful. Wouldn't you agree?
I mean, when you use magic, or when you actually use proper magic, technically you should be able to do a lot of damage.
Yeah.
Not taking into account some of your dice rolls, but yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's always another thing here, our dice rolls, yes. But Faye can now cast Fireball, which is probably one of the most famous spells in the D&D universe. And that can do a lot of damage. And the thing is, as you probably remember, Faye has the problem that whenever she casts a really powerful spell, there is a chance that it goes haywire. And so I kind of have to decide whether I use a high-level spell or not. And this makes it interesting. I had a lot of luck rolling my haywire spell effects, so nothing really bad happened. I think the worst thing that happened was I was turned into a potted plant at one time for a brief time. But other than that, I've managed to not cause big problems for me and my friends.
So far, we've been lucky that way, yeah.
Yeah, so far. But yes, tell us about your artificer. How is Archibald?
I mean, Archibald is now that he's not in prison anymore, he's doing better. And I would argue he's kind of grown a little bit more into the role of user of magic items. He has quite a few magic items now that I'm hoping to be able to use very, very soon. I just picked up a magic broom. I hope that I can have some fun with that. I have an immovable rod, and I have some ideas what to do with that one. I'm just waiting for the right opportunity. But then again, I really like the fact that I'm the one who can actually tell the others what their magic items are good for, or which bag not to open for whatever reason, and things like that. So I like this support function that my character Archibald has at this moment. Also like where the story is at the moment. We've been on a caravan for a few sessions, making our way from Baldur's Gate to Waterdeep. And now that we're in Waterdeep, I think the story, the thing that we're really, really after is picking up again. We got some new clues. We know where to go. I think we finally figured out what the dragon cult or the cultists are actually trying to do. So I'm quite invested in the story at the moment, and I just hope that in the next fight I don't die in the first round because I was surprised and missed my saving throw. Because that sucks.
Yeah. That does indeed.
Yeah.
The story is really at a great point. We had a lot of time to grow together as a group, and there is still a little bit of friendly rivalry going on between certain characters, but we are now at the point where we actually see where we need to go, where we all have the same goal at the moment, whether our initial goals that we had to actually join this group has become secondary. So it's a great, we're in a really great point.
I think so too, yeah. I think we're helping each other, not because we have to, because we want to. So yeah, I quite enjoy that. We should also mention, and that's probably the moment we go into our real topic for today. We should also mention that we have another different D&D group going on at the moment where we try out some one-shots. Mm-hmm. We played a one-shot on Good Friday, and we're probably doing another one on the next holiday or kind of in a few weeks. And we're using these one-shots to try out new characters. Well, at least that's what I do. Maybe we have some time to talk about what you're going to do the next time we play a one-shot. And I wanted to use kind of this opportunity because, playing a one-shot with a new character is a good way to get a little bit into some of the characters, trying out things, trying out some classes, maybe some races. So I wanted to talk a little bit with you about what our favorite D&D classes are. So what we like about these classes, why we like them, why we decided to play them, and maybe what kind of things we would like to try out in the future. So Pat, what are your favorite classes so far? Or of all the D&D classes, what's your pick?
Even though I probably sound like a broken record, but I still enjoy the rogue the most. I really like to play a rogue. Maybe because the rogue is kind of what I see my real life body in a fantasy universe as. Of course, I'm not as good in lockpicking in real life, but the thing is, the rogue is not in the sense a hero that he just barges into battle and stuff. A rogue can be a good and gentle person. That's no question. But a rogue, the skill set of rogue kind of makes it so that you have to be more careful than probably almost all of the other classes because you're kind of fragile. When we last played a rogue, I was at a point where probably a single well-rolled hit would kill me. So, and I think that is a very interesting aspect. It's the way I see myself, how if I would be, sucked into the D&D universe, into Faerun or something, then I would probably be a rogue.
The way you describe it, dealing a lot of damage but not being able to take damage, that sums you up as a person perfectly.
Yeah, I would say just dishing out, yes, but getting something, no.
So
that's me.
I never played a rogue, but it's definitely one of the classes I would like to try at some point, maybe in one of our next sessions. I like the aspect of the rogue, kind of that he or she has to hide, kind of hit from the shadows. I quite like that as a character trait or as a class trait, that not just in combat but in social encounters as well. So it's definitely one of those really, really well-rounded classes that with all these subclasses or archetypes that are available, you can actually adjust to fit quite a lot of different playstyles.
Yeah, you can. I mean, there is the option of just staying as a thief, or you become an assassin, or you can become an arcane trickster. All of these further specializations are fun in its own way. You can really vary how you want to play your rogue.
That's where I would like to take a rogue. I mean, I would definitely go for arcane trickster because I just like my magic. A D&D character, at least for me, I need to have some spells. Even if I'm just a half caster, which I have to admit, I'm actually quite fond of them. Even if you're just a half caster, just a few spells. They don't have to be that powerful, but just a little cantrip to give you a little bit of an edge. Because for me, fantasy and magic, those are two things that are intertwined. So I like reading. I like books. So I like reading spells. I like browsing through this list and picking one. So I like my magic.
So what would you say would be your favorite half caster, or your favorite class?
For longer sessions, I've played a bard and played an artificer, and I really like those two. I would say maybe the bard is even closer to my role in the fantasy world would be. But then again, the artificer as a magical inventor, that would definitely be a role that suits me as well. Other than that, when I used to play World of Warcraft, I like to play a wizard. Kind of that's another class, because if not a half caster, I go full magic. But the wizard, I would say, just like the rogue, the wizard has the ability to dish out a lot of damage as well. But not unlike the rogue, as soon as you get hit with something really powerful, you might need some help. Unless you have a counter spell or something like that, you're probably going to be dead as well. Because I think wizard and rogue, they have the lowest hit die, don't they?
I think so, yes. Yeah.
Then again, with wizard or artificer, maybe that's my most controversial opinion. I like characters with intelligence as one of their high values. And I know lots of people say, intelligence so overrated. Yeah, but I like it. Obviously, with a bard, you have charisma, and that's fine as well. Or with a rogue, obviously dexterity. But I think my least favorite stat or ability is probably strength. And I've played a few characters where strength is actually their lowest ability, like the artificer I'm playing now, or I think probably even as a rogue, I would probably have strength be my lowest score as well. But maybe charisma as a rogue would be okay to be low as well. But so as I said, I really like bard, I like artificer. I'm definitely have to try out a rogue. I've played a fighter recently.
Oh, yeah. How was it?
I played an Echo Knight, the one designed by Matt Mercer in Explorer's Guide to Wildmount. And I like the Echo Knight because of the teleportation abilities. I'm not really fond of a fighter because the only thing you can do is just hit people with your sword or with your weapons. And if not for the teleportation ability, kind of with my Echo, fights usually play out exactly the same way. You just walk up to something and you hit it. So with a bard or with an artificer, you have, especially with Archibald Thistlestitch and his pet Bomb, you have so many more possibilities in a fight. I quite enjoy that.
Yeah, that's a good point. I've never played a fighter yet because I know the fighters get more complex later when they start to specialize. But so far, I never actually felt that it is something that I would have fun playing. And I liked your idea to open up the traditional fighter by having a race with special ability that does something very, very special. And it makes fights more dynamic for the fighter. Because, yes, I mean, they usually walk towards the enemy and hit it, and they hope they hit them more than they get. I agree with your choice here.
I should mention in our last session with when I played with Archibald, I got another magic item, all-purpose tool, which allows me, or gives me the ability to take a spell from another spell list. And that's something that's really fun to, as I said, to mix up these characters as well, just to give them a new ability that breaks the mold a little bit. And maybe I would really like a fighter with the right subclass, with the right set of magical items that allow for some variety in a fight. I might actually enjoy that as well.
I could imagine that, say for a one-shot, it might be cool to play a really dumb fighter where you can hit hard and everything, but the intelligence is very low and wisdom is very low. And you kind of play him like that, being as this really stupid brute. But the thing is, I think that would only be fun for a one shot, and after that it would get kind of annoying, not just for the player, but probably also for the other players. Yeah, but for a one shot, I think that could be fun for once, for one evening.
That's exactly why I love those one shots so much, because I can try out a fighter. And if I like it, I can maybe play another one-shot with it. And if I don't like it, I'm not stuck in a campaign over multiple weeks, months, years, or whatever, where I have to play a character that I'm not really into. And so far, I never felt like that with the Bard or the Artificer. I'm still enjoying them as much as I did on the first in the first session. And we're at level 6 now, aren't we?
I think so. Yes.
Yeah, we're at level 6, so after level 5, 6, so you kind of have most of your cool abilities, or kind of the first few cool abilities, and kind of you're starting to grow into your character. You're starting to grow the character is starting to grow as a hero. So those are the fun levels, and
yeah.
But it takes time to get there, especially if you start at level 1.
Definitely. And I agree completely. I think the most fun levels are, say, from level 5 to level 10, maybe. Because after that, you kind of are very, very powerful, which in turn means that the DM has to create obstacles that kind of match you. And I think the sub-quest nature of a game gets lost then. So, I think the most fun levels, as you said, are 5 and onward, and to about level 10, I would say.
I'm not the most experienced DM, but I think probably from level 1 to level 10, it's pretty easy in the sense of it's very manageable to do your homebrew adventure. But when you get to higher levels, it probably helps a lot to have some pre-written adventures, just to make sure that the challenge ratings... Just make sure that the traps and the whole dungeon layouts and everything kind of matches the abilities and the powers of the characters. And I think if you're not that well versed, if you're not that experienced as a DM, that's probably going to be very, very, very difficult.
Yeah, I think so too. Yeah.
Any other characters you would like to try your hand at, or you've played before and would like to go back to?
The thing is, when I'm not playing a rogue, I like to take classes that are kind of as far away from the rogue as possible, so that I don't fall into all rogue habits. I like to play with magical characters, and Faye is a sorcerer, and I also played a wizard once. And I actually like the wizard more than I first thought I would. We played with a couple of new players, and I thought I take the wizard so the other players don't have to read a lot about spells and stuff. And I kind of thought, okay, I take the wizard so that we have the wizard in our party. And I have more fun playing the wizard than I first thought. It's also a very fun class to play. And in our one-shot, I had decided to go kind of not to a fighter, but actually to a paladin. And as it is usual when I try to create a character, I always like to make everything harder than it actually has to be. And I decided to play a dexterity-based paladin. And there are people out there who call that a dexidin, which I think sounds more like, I don't know, sleeping pills or something. But it's also stupid because a paladin is not a astrologian, so it doesn't make sense. But anyway, playing a dexterity-based paladin, it allowed me to try a couple of things that was perhaps then again closer to the rogue, because the rogue is more dexterity-based. But it still allowed me to use a rapier as a weapon and deal out some pretty great melee combat. So it was interesting. And since it's a dexterity-based paladin, I thought I make it as, well, how should I put it? I make it as silly as possible and play it as a little gnome girl. So to just hammer home with the fact that it's a dexterity-based paladin. I thought it was a lot of fun to play a paladin character, not necessarily because of the fights you're into, because I already felt that they were kind of boring, even though the paladin has a couple of smaller spells, but just because the way you play a paladin with the force for good. And I kind of, whenever we were in a dungeon that had a couple of mummies and stuff, and I was the one who did not steal their gold because this belongs to them and such. And it's interesting to play such a character. I liked it from a role-playing perspective, not so much from a game-playing perspective.
That's why you play an Oathbreaker, so that you can steal the money.
But it turned out I was right not stealing the money. We wouldn't have survived.
It was close, but that's why it was only a one-shot, so...
Yeah. That's, by the way, a great thing about one-shots, that you could try things and, you don't need the character next session. So it doesn't hurt as much if he dies.
Yeah. So I actually don't know what I will play in our next session. On the one hand, I would really like to maybe get my hand at an Arcane Trickster, or maybe even a Monk, because that's something that I think I would not want to play in a whole campaign, but maybe in a one-shot, or maybe even a Warlock or something. On the other hand, I might try to multi-class a little bit. Mm-hmm. And just briefly, because we're talking way too long again, like every week, so to speak. Multi-classing, on the one hand, I think it's very interesting because it allows for some really, really cool combos. So, for example, I'm trying to think of a way to basically turn Batman into a D&D character. And I'm picturing something in between a monk and a rogue. Mm-hmm. At this point, I can't make all the game mechanics work in my favor, so I'm probably gonna scrap that. And that brings me to the one downside I see when it comes to multi-classing. You're getting some cool abilities from two different classes, but you're not getting the really cool ones from either of the two. Mm-hmm. That's the sacrifice, that's the trade-off you make, and obviously that's the point of multi-classing. But I just feel that it's probably more interesting to just stick to one class and experience everything that class has to offer than, water it down with adding something else. What do you think?
You already made an excellent point with the the greatest stuff that the class allows you to do, the greatest things, are kind of locked off if you multiclass your character. And I was briefly thinking about multiclassing because, as you said, it would allow some really great combinations that could be potentially a lot of fun. I think a multiclass character is a bit harder to play because you have to not only manage more potential skills and stuff, but also to make decisions early on that help you grow your character in a way that actually is fun to play. So it's certainly something you have to really dig into and really know what you're doing, in my opinion. One of the great things about choosing your own class is that you could actually sort of take something and immediately know where you want to go with that. You deliberately choose not to have all the other things that Dungeons and Dragons would offer you. And with that, with the things you miss, you can kind of create your character in a deeper fashion, just from a role-playing perspective. And I mean, the great stuff later on, that's a really bummer if you miss out on that.
If you decide, okay, I'm going to start with the level 10 characters, and I'm taking 6 levels from there and 4 from there, or 5 from there and 5 from there, maybe you get to a point where it's actually a lot of fun. I'm just having a hard time feeling, okay, I'm at level 3 or I'm level 4, and with level 5 I'm getting this new cool ability. But no, I'm going to take 1 level from another class. And because let's be honest, level 1 abilities are probably not the strongest, so you're kind of... Yeah. I'm not saying you waste a level on something, but you need to be higher level to fully experience the benefits of multiclassing. So, and at least that's what I think as someone who hasn't tried it. I mean, I rolled a few characters and just imagine how it would be to play them. And it didn't really, rock my socks off.
Yeah, me too. I rolled a couple of multi-class characters, and as you've said, all the things you cannot do or only can do very, very late. I probably won't play a multi-class character. I don't think this is my cup of tea. Well, except perhaps in a one shot to try something for once or something. But I like to concentrate on a class.
Yeah, I mean, next time you're definitely not trying out a multi-class character, because next time when we do one of those one-shots, you actually volunteer to DM. Are you excited about that?
Yeah, I'm pretty nervous, actually. I've DM'd a couple of times, but always with newbies. And, DMing for some more hardened gamers, that is something that I really want to make a good impression. And I mean, you will be along and our other DM will be along. So it's some big shoes I need to fit in.
Do you have any plans yet? You don't have to spoil anything, but...
Yeah. I probably, because we will play... level 5 characters, I think, or level 6.
Level 6, I think, you decided.
Level 6, yes. And I probably, because I don't have the time to grow into that and get my challenge ratings all right, I would probably use a pre-made adventure. And as we said before, this isn't less work, actually, because you need to read into it and you need to prepare it adequately. And you don't have the freedom of just changing everything, because then it just falls apart. Or, I mean, you could do that, but at that point, I probably could just have written my own adventure.
But it helps with the mechanics.
It helps. Yeah, it helps with the mechanics. So I would probably take a pre-made adventure that is specifically for the second tier characters, so level 5 and up, and where the challenges are adequately made for these kind of characters. So I wouldn't have to worry about that. So I can be sure you will have fun.
First of all, I'm really looking forward to it. I'm pretty sure you're going to do a good job, and I'm really excited to figure out what you have in store for us. So
yeah, let's see. And I'm really looking forward to that. I really wanted to be DM for a while now, and a one-shot is a great way to do that. And even if I say in the end of the evening, okay, that and that wasn't that great, it's just a one-shot, so you just, throw it away, or perhaps you will have a lot of fun. I try to have something that is short enough so that we can actually get through the entire adventure in one evening.
Yeah, I mean, there are lots of sources where you find stuff like that. I mean, we have access to pretty much all the books, all the published D&D books that are available on D&D Beyond, because some of us just like to buy those books. Yeah.
Yeah, and there are a lot of other great resources in the internet where you can
DM skill and stuff like that. Yeah.
So there's a lot out there.
Yeah.
So I don't feel like I'm helpless here.
No, there's you will be helped.
Yeah, I guess so. So, but really,
this basically gives us our next D&D topic.
Yeah.
Next time, because we'll definitely talk D&D again. Next time we talk about how Pat did as a D&D. Kind of you'll get feedback, kind of official
and
a rating. Yeah, you're gonna be put on the rating board. Pat's DM rating, but obviously we need to figure out when in which episode we're going to talk D&D again. And just as last time, we're gonna let the die decide. So this time I'm gonna roll. Let's see what the next episode we're gonna talk D&D again is in. Seriously, 19.
Oh, this would be a great roll. Why are you wasting this roll for our next episode?
Let's see how that works out. So that's episode 37 plus 19. That's 56.
Yeah, calculus is not my.
So episode 56 is our, maybe episode 56 is our next, or let's just put it that way. 56 is definitely a D&D episode. I think with all the unplugged and stuff like that, we're probably gonna be there sooner than we think. But yeah,
maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, or else we just make a D&D episode in between.
We could cheat. We could cheat, or I could just edit. I could just roll again and edit this part out. 7.
Yeah, that wasn't this what we rolled the last time?
I think so. Yeah. Let's stick to 19 for the moment, and let's figure it out when we get there.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay. So it was fun talking to you about the classes of D&D.
Yeah, so some of them.
From Bard to Rogue, or from Artificer to Rogue. And let's probably in 19 episode, we might have a lot more to say about the different classes as well.
I sure hope so, yes.
Okay, so this is it for this week. Please like, share, and subscribe to our podcast. We're on all major podcasting services and on www.passionofthegeeks.com. So maybe dropping a review or 5 stars on iTunes or any other podcatcher. So would be really appreciated. You can send in questions, suggestions to passionofthegeeks@gmail.com. And you can find us on Twitter @PassionOTGeeks. Was nice talking to you, Pat. Take care.
Take care, Greg. It was great again. Bye-bye.
As always. Klaatu Barata Nikto.